guys, welcome back to NCG Reptiles. And I got here Phoenix, our little girl. I'm going to bring her up to the camera so you guys can see her. And I want to talk today about how we get and prepare our crickets for her and all our geckos here at NCG Reptiles. See if I can get her in focus. There you go. I know a lot of people have questions about how you take care of crickets and what do you do with crickets, and that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Show you guys how we prep our crickets for our geckos. Alright, so let me show you how we keep our crickets here. We keep them in a tub like this. It's a little tall, depending on how many crickets I buy. Either have these egg crates that are in here, come up really high, and fill this up with crickets, and that works out for me. But I like to buy not that many crickets, so I take the egg crates and I cut them up in these little sizes here. I'll show you why in a minute. The top has the little holes for them, and right here is the little pieces of egg crates. You can see these crickets, and these crickets are called bandit crickets. If you could feed these to your geckos, it's wonderful. I'll tell you why. They don't smell. They're crickets, very quiet, and they live a lot longer. And supposedly they're a little bit more nutritious than the regular crickets that you guys can get. So if you can, I highly recommend these bandit crickets. You'll like them. Your geckos will like them, and they're very good. So what I do is I take these egg crates and I cut them up and I put them inside here, and we prep this tank just for holding crickets so they can live. So I can transfer these crickets into one of these smaller critter cages, so that way we can add calcium to this and add the stuff 2 days. This is only 2 days prior to actually feeding your geckos. I'll show you why we do that in a minute. So just for keeping them in here, normally I put little carrot bits. You could put sweet potato in there. What I really like to do is I really enjoy putting, this is the gecko diet, so whatever's left over for the geckos, they'll eat this, and then you have some left over. I put it right here, right inside the cricket container, and they eat that, and that helps get them nice and nutrition inside their bodies for the geckos to eat. So then when I know I'm ready to feed the geckos, I usually feed them about once a week. What I do is I get one of these, okay? These little critter cages. And what I do is I use the cricket quencher stuff that you can get at any big box store. And this one has already calcium in it. So I'll take that and you can grab like a little spoon, something to kind of just get it out of there. Oh, here it is, right here. And take a little bit of this. You don't have to put much. It's only for 2 days. So I'll put that in there. Put that in a corner. And the reason why you want to do it 2 days is because the crickets will have a bunch of calcium inside them, and the calcium in crickets, they don't digest too well, so the crickets are not going to live very long. So when you get the crickets prepared for feeding your geckos, you want to make sure they're full of calcium and they're ready to go, because there's a short lifespan after you load them up with calcium. So then what I do is the next thing I do is calcium with vitamin D3. If anybody knows about calcium D3 It helps with digestion. So I'll take a little bit of this and I'll put it in the other corner for the crickets. I'll put a little bit like that in there. And so normally what happens, the geckos they'll get UVB, and they'll use the sunlight, and they'll take vitamin D in their right through their skin, and then it converts to D3, which helps in absorbing calcium. So that's why you want to put D3 if you're not using any UVB, or if the geckos are not getting any sunlight. This helps with digestion. So then I take this. This is another calcium cricket diet that I get right from big box store, and I take a little spoonful of this stuff and I kind of put it in there. They eat this just like that. So if you see what I did, the food has calcium, the water crystals have calcium in it, and then I actually put calcium with D3 in there. And this is just so that it makes sure that the crickets are going to consume that calcium, and I let them eat this food, this mixture, for 2 days before I feed it to the geckos. So now I get the container that I had, and what I do is, you can see that, you see how there's little pieces that I cut up, and the crickets already I don't have to scoop them out or try to dig for them. So I put this little piece that I cut up, and I put it right inside the critter container. And now you can see that in here the crickets have the water crystals with the calcium, and then they have the food with the calcium, and then I actually have calcium with D3 in there. And so they'll eat this for 2 days. So when I get ready to actually feed the crickets, what I do is next is I grab a bag. It's a regular Ziploc bag. I open it up, and I have put a little bit of calcium in there, just like that. And then take out the egg crate, and they'll always have little crickets on there all the time. They like hanging out on there. That's why it's kind of important to have the egg crate in pieces. And I take it and I shake it right inside there. And now the crickets are in there. And you know for sure that these crickets are gut loaded. That's what we did in the beginning when we fed our crickets carrots and gecko diet and sweet potato, oranges, whatever you want to put in there. You can also put water crystals in here too. So sometimes I put the non-calcium water crystals in there, or you can go to like Home Depot, they sell water crystals, and that way if you spray water in here, from my experience, what happens is if it's too much, it'll mold. So you don't want to go spraying water in here directly inside your tank or inside your container, because then you get mold buildup and you don't want to feed your geckos moldy crickets. So take this, and what I do is I have these mealworm feeders. They have a little top on there, just like this. Okay, these little mealworm feeders. And what you want to do is you want to take these crickets out. Okay, you can grab them out of there. You can kind of pour them in there, and if you get a cricket inside here, what happens is they run around, run around. They do get out, just so that you guys know. They can get out. They don't stay in there forever. But if you do it right before the geckos go to sleep at night, what you do is you put the crickets in there and they run around, and the geckos will see them, and they're out hunting at night anyways. So it's less likely they're going to jump out. So you put them in here. They got a little lip. They run around, and the geckos love it. They'll eat them. They'll eat the crickets right out of here, and you don't have to go looking for crickets because they're going to be still in here. The geckos are pretty good at getting them in here. Once the geckos associate this container with food, sometimes they'll go in here and they'll just stare inside here. I don't know if you guys ever seen geckos staring, but they love to stare. They stare like forever. You want to wonder what they're thinking about. They're probably just thinking about crickets. That's my idea. But they're concentrating really hard. So put the crickets in there, and that's it. You successfully were able to gut load your crickets. Remember, do that first. Then 2 days prior, you get the crickets prepared. You put them in a little container, and then lastly, what you do is you put the gecko in a mealworm container. You can buy these online. They're cheap, a few cents each. And then you put it in the tank, or you could put this in the tank and then put the crickets in there, so you don't have none of them actually jumping out. So have this already in the tank, and then you can put the crickets inside there. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching NCG Reptiles. I really enjoy doing this. I hope you guys enjoy it too. I hope you guys learned a little bit about crickets and what we do and how we prepare them, so that way we can keep our geckos nice and healthy. And thanks again for watching our channel. Over and out. Bye.